Tudors, Rolexes, Grand Seikos, Pateks, Zeniths, tags, Hublots, and too many more new watches, but thankfully we're not going to talk about any of them. I'm Zach Weiss, and this is episode 102 of A Week in Watches, which isn't weekly at all, but maybe we'll change that. We'll see. Well, Watches and Wonders happened just a few weeks ago and likely dominated any watch-related feeds you follow, so I'm not going to rehash the same things over and over again, as you're likely sick of it. We covered most of it on wornandwound.com anyway, plus, we made a few videos as well, so just go check those out. Rather, I want to look at some of the indie releases that happened at around the same time, as well as a few pieces that have happened since, especially that crazy one, wink wink. Before getting started, I wanted to let you know that the Wind Up Watch Fair San Francisco 2025 is happening next weekend, May 2nd through the 4th at the Gateway Pavilion in Fort Mason Park. There will be over 80 brands attending, and as always, it's free and open to all. So if you're on the West Coast, we hope to see you there. For more details, including hours and the brand roster, head to windupwatchfair.com. C. Ward is living the vida loco. Okay, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one, even though it is incredibly important, because we also published a 16.5-minute long video of me reviewing it already. So go check that out for something more in depth. For Week in Watches, I'll just be giving the TLDR. And basically it's this. Christopher Ward has announced the true follow-up to the Bel Canto, the C12 Loco. By follow-up, I don't mean a sequel or evolution on the Bel Canto, but rather a further exploration of the watchmaking that Bel Canto opened up for the brand. A type of watchmaking that previously was reserved for higher-end brands because of its complexity. So what is the C12 Loco? Well, it's a version of their integrated bracelet 12 line with a new in-house movement, the CW003, that features a dial-side escapement as well as a 6-day power reserve, which sums it up a little too fast for the achievement that it is. This is haute horology stuff in a remarkably affordable package for what it is, which, to get out of the way, is $4,595 on a strap and $4,825 on a bracelet. Not inexpensive, but in a class of its own for the price. Dial-side escapements are interesting as they don't add to the functionality of a watch, but unlike a skeletonized movement that exposes an escapement, they require a ground-up movement design, and they are done for the love and art of the mechanical watch. The C12 Loco puts this front and center in a design that has the look and feel of a contemporary indie front and back. Huge bridges, lots of finishing, sapphire indices. It's really not something we're seeing from any other brand right now. So, like I said, for a much longer and more detailed breakdown, head to my review. This really isn't a watch you're going to want to miss. Ming doesn't call back. That's a ghost joke, like as in getting ghosted, get it? Anyway, Ming has a new limited edition release called the 3702 Ghost, and it's made of titanium, which should be all you need to know to want one. Okay, I'll get serious. Part of the 37 series, the Ghost is a 38 by 44.5 and 11 millimeter tall, fully grade 2 titanium automatic that weighs only 35 grams and has a 100-meter water resistance, though apparently was tested all the way to 260 meters. There's a bit of a misunderstanding around titanium grades. People like to think 2 is worse than 5, the other most commonly used grade in watchmaking. But it's not, it's just different. In fact, it's pure titanium, whereas grade 5 is an alloy. I blame the word grade here as it seems to indicate a ranking. Grade 2 is apparently actually harder to work with. It's tougher to machine and has a tendency to catch fire. Grade 2 is also darker for that titanium gray look and doesn't take a polish as well as grade 5. So it's more about the application than any supposed quality. Anyway, as for the design of the Ghost, well, it's rather minimal, though not to be confused with the Ming Minimalist, even if the Ghost somehow feels more minimal, or minimaler. Regardless, the dial surface is composed of 2 pieces of titanium with simple brushed finishing matching the case, making the watch appear almost as though it's machined from a single block of metal. As this is a Ming, the dial markings are, in fact, not on the dial per se, but rather a lume-filled etching in a layer of sapphire above the surface. Interestingly, the index design is the same as what was used on the 3709 Bluefin. The 3702 is limited to 250 watches and is priced at $3,500 CHF, or about $4,250 USD at the time of recording. Singer sings an older tune. Singer Reimagined makes some really serious chronographs. They feature retro vibes, but thoroughly modern design concepts, and they've typically been powered by the very innovative Agengraph movement by Agenor, leading to some unique and bizarre concepts such as the absolutely bonkers dive track 24-hour chronograph. Well, for a change of pace, Singer launched a duo of more traditional chronographs under a new line called the Heritage Series. The special feature of these watches is that they used restored new old stock Valjoux 236 manual wind column wheel chronographs inside. Now, it's one thing to take a new old stock movement, clean it, re-oil, regulate, and make it run. But what Singer did was fully redecorate these movements with frosted brass bridges and plates, brushed steel components for contrast, hand-polished chamfers and screws. The result is a movement with a vintage charm but a really modern look, a combo befitting of the brand. As for the watches, they are Singer's most approachable, featuring 38.8mm cases with a fairly classical shape and a bi-registered dial design that utilizes elements of Singer's other watches for visual consistency, but in a standard chronograph layout. As such, you'll find skeletonized sword hands, a large hub over the central pinion, applied gold tone markers, and a golden crown rehaut. There are two versions available, the SR601 with a piano black surface and the SR602 with an empire green surface, both priced at $19,500. I had the chance to see these in Geneva and they were absolutely lovely. The cases are sized well and have wide dials for a lot of impact. I was also impressed by the feel of the chronograph, which had a much nicer snap than I expected from vintage movements. Sartori Billiard and Studio Underdog want to brighten your day. Last year, Studio Underdog teamed up with Moser to create their Passion Fruit duo. It was a project that elicited strong reactions, but regardless of where you stood on it, the fact that an affordable microbrand collaborated with a high-end indie was cool and unexpected. Well, clearly this was the start of a new strategy for Studio Underdog, who have now teamed up with Sartori Billiard for some flower power. A fairly straightforward piece conceptually, the watch is called the Sunflower with a 0 instead of an O because that's Studio Underdog's thing. And clearly it's meant to evoke a sunflower with a dark burgundy central region and a golden yellow outer region, all guillocheed with intricate patterns, including a sort of petal vein motif. A minute index and subtle golden hour marks are printed on a sapphire layer for depth. Sartori Billiard's signature elaborate blade-like hour and minute hands feature a metallic green center, tying it all together. It's really nothing short of stunning. Powering the Sunflower is a manual wound 90-hour La Joux 7380, and it's worth noting that the dial is true engine-turned guilloche executed by Comblemine, and the case and hands are by Voutilanen and Caton, all part of Kari Voutilanen's manufacturing network. So super high quality. Unlike the Moser collab, which saw a watch by each brand, the Sunflower is just the watch made by Sartori Billiard. Priced at 12,700 euros or about 14,400 USD at the time of recording, the Sunflower is limited to 10 pieces and, yeah, it's already sold out, sorry. Arnold and Son celebrate a very old friendship. One of the most impressive watches I got to handle at Watches and Wonders also had one of the best stories behind it, the Arnold and Son Constant Force Tourbillon 11. Okay, before getting into it, you might be saying, is Arnold & Son really an indie as they are owned by Citizen Group? And the answer would be no, and yet they operate and just seem like one, so, well, it's my list and I can break the rules. The story behind this watch is basically that Abraham Louis Breguet and John Arnold were good friends and admirers of each other's work. Famously, they even exchanged their sons for mentoring in the ways of watchmaking. At some point, Arnold gifted Breguet one of his chronometers, number 11 to be exact. After Arnold's death, Breguet modified the watch, installing his first tourbillon into it, and then gifted it back to Arnold's son. The movement also had a silver plate installed that was engraved with the first tourbillon regulator by Breguet incorporated in one of the first works of Arnold, Breguet's Homage to the Revered Memory of Arnold, presented to his son in the year 1808. That watch is now at the British Museum. Anyway, in case you couldn't tell where this is going, the Constant Force Tourbillon 11 is an homage to that watch made for the 260th anniversary of the brand. As such, the movement design is based on the watch with a striking symmetrical design featuring a single large plate hiding all the inner workings, save a large tourbillon at the end of a long bridge running down the movement's center from top to bottom. Echoing the plate on the original is now a plate that reads, "To the revered memory of John Arnold and Abraham Louis Breguet, friends in their time, legendary watchmakers always." Flipping the watch over, the dial is truly classic in design, though a departure from the original, which had a just very traditional design. Made of enamel, the dial features an offset hour and minute display on a convex enamel surface with a golden border up at the 10 position. Diagonally at 4 is an aperture exposing the constant force mechanism, which appears to be a remontoire providing energy at 1 second increments. This makes it act as a dead stop seconds and features the brand's signature anchor as a hand. A large bridge supports the mechanism from above. Housed in a 41.5mm 18-karat yellow gold case, it's just an incredible watch through and through. The constant force tourbillon is limited to 11 pieces, one of which apparently went to Ed Sheeran, and is priced at 129,800 Swiss francs, or about 160,000 USD. Trilobe gets heady. I'll try to make this one quick. Trilobe, a rising indie known for its handless designs, had perhaps the weirdest novelty at Watches and Wonders, a bespoke horological head clock thing. Okay, to explain. Trilobe has teamed up with an artist to create individually crafted busts that tell the time as well as do other things, giving them a strange sense of being alive. At a glance, the busts don't reveal much, though on their sides are strange flower forms with petals. These petals open up, counting the hours, 6 per side. Minutes? Well, that's told through the position of the eyes. The bust also breathes and emits a scent if so desired. And it gets weirder. If you were to purchase one of these, you would have the choice to have the head based on your own, or presumably of another willing person. The process of making the clock begins by visiting a partner workshop in Paris where the face is sketched. The head is then designed and the clockworks are configured to match the specifications of the face. It is then entirely handmade with over 2,050 components, taking around 3,000 hours. Called, and I apologize for my French, Le Temps Retrouvé, which is a reference to Proust's In Search of Lost Time, it certainly leaves an impression. A very unexpected departure from their wristwatches, there is an appreciable indie spirit behind such a piece of horology. And with that, episode 102 of A Week in Watches has reached its conclusion. Just a heads up, we're going to experiment with some new formats for this show, so stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe if you don't mind, and we hope to see you in San Francisco. Until next time.